Right, starting.
Right, what a fabulous day. Very, very excited here to bring you into my space. I've got a really dynamic woman out there in the world of health to share with you all about, what she is doing and up to out there in community. Her name is Kim Knight, and she is an empowerment coach, really understands the space around chronic illness and recovery, and very, very excited. Welcome, Kim. Thank you for joining us here today. And please, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about, your transformational solutions around, I guess, optimal well-being, as you talk about.
Well, that's a huge topic in itself because there are multiple facets to it. But really, I suppose we could nut it down that I really enjoy getting down to the root cause. I like to, and it's actually because it's necessary, for total healing, for holistic healing, is that we need to understand what is really causing the problem, which is usually unknown by us initially.
Yes.
And we could say that, this is the difference between looking at things physically or metaphysically. And metaphysically isn't a woo-woo word, although people can often think that. Meta means beyond. And so it just means beyond physical. And so what most people do when they're looking to solve a health issue, initially, because the symptoms are physical, they're looking in their body for something physical that is the cause. And it could be something internal or it could be external, but it's still physical. For example, what did I eat that was wrong? What's gone wrong in my body? Have I got, vitamin deficiency, mineral deficiency? Is there some organ not working properly?
Right.
But that is just, whatever that is, if it's a vitamin deficiency, if you've got irritable bowel, symptoms, whatever the tests come back, whether they're medical or naturopathic or whatever, that's still only telling you the end result. It's like, it's telling you, this is how your body is now. This is the state of your organs and your tissues and etc. But it's not telling you what caused that imbalance. And most people then think, oh, okay, well, maybe it's because I'm not eating the right foods and I need some supplements and da-da-da.
That's right. So people are just looking at it in a partial way, aren't they? And
they're looking at it in a physical way, but they're not asking, why is it my body has lost harmony and balance and homeostasis? What caused that? And what we find 99% of the time is it is nothing physical that caused that. It is to do with our thoughts, our feelings, our beliefs, our behaviors, our lifestyle, and all of that goes back to what happened in the first 7 years of your life. What programmed you, what conditioned you into your beliefs, your behaviors in those first 7 years. And that is what I've seen in every single client in 15 years. Absolutely. It's always the same.
Absolutely amazing, because I know that, a lot of the viewers that will be watching this are suffering from some very serious illnesses and some very serious progressive illnesses, and so they will be very fascinated to learn about what you have to offer in terms of what that they are needing to perhaps look at to help them on their journey into wellness and recovery. Can you share a little bit about perhaps something that you're doing currently that they may be able to kind of link into?
Yes. Didn't think we were going to talk about that so soon, but yeah, I mean, I run online coaching programs, and I've been coaching one-to-one for, as I said, 15 years. But what I noticed was that there are certain recurring themes in every client who has, or every person who has a chronic illness. And by the way, chronic means it's long-term, it's more than 6 months. That's the definition medically of a chronic illness. And what I've noticed is that there are these certain recurring themes that no matter what the symptoms are, no matter what the diagnosis is, there are certain things that a person tends to do that exacerbates and worsens or creates the symptoms. And this could be how they manage their emotions. It could be the types of thoughts they're having, the beliefs they have about themselves, how they run their life in terms of their lifestyle and their lifestyle habits. In other words, are they overworking, overdoing it, not giving themselves enough time, not taking care of themselves, not prioritizing themselves. And also a big theme is tolerating unfair treatment and abuse, emotional abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. It's a big theme. So there are these common themes of what causes the illness and also the habits that people have that need to be changed. So because this is so, it goes across the board to everybody, these techniques and solutions and strategies can now be taught in a group environment. Because they apply to everybody. So I'm running a program on that.
And that's very exciting, because I know that in my own experience with some very serious illnesses, and you highlighted that really beautifully around, the stress, the emotional connection to our physical body. And it doesn't even have to be now in the present. This could actually go right back, into early childhood. And often not even have any recollection. And it could be something as simple as what, a teacher had said to a child to make you feel less than, and that can actually be carried right into adulthood and could well be the initial start, or something that's actually exacerbating the illness. And unless that's addressed, we're really only just putting a Band-Aid on the physical problem. Would I be right in saying that?
Absolutely. Yep. Spot on.
Yes, yeah. Well, it's I'm so glad that you're able to come on board and to let us know what you're actually doing out there in community. And is it easy for people to, access you, from anywhere in the world? I know that you are really well recognised as the Kiwi Health Detective. And that you have been, providing a wonderful service for our local community here in New Zealand. Is it easy for people, abroad to come on board with what you have to offer?
Actually, most of my clientele are worldwide, and I would say the least amount of people up until now have been, well, not up until now. Initially, I worked mainly with New Zealanders because I was only working in person. But then I started getting inquiries from further afield around the country, and they couldn't travel because they were sick. Mm-hmm. And then I started getting inquiries from all sorts of countries around the world. Now I only work online remotely, whether it's one-to-one, whether it's group coaching. And I'd say that most of my clients come from the UK. Is a great, is a really good match because I'm from the UK, but the time zone is not so good for, the private sessions. But America, Australia, but I've had all sorts. I've had India, Singapore, Fiji.
Absolutely. Because
Norway, all over.
That's right. Illness has no race preference, does it? Or
no,
geographical preference.
We are all the same.
We are all dealing with the same things. And so your holistic views around which we've been touching base on, obviously, around addressing the emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual aspects of a journey. Would I be right in saying that, that whole package is really important, and not a one-size-fits-all, that it is client dependent on, where they're at, and because it comes back to, what you believe in and what your thoughts are and what your feelings are. And so my understanding is that you're able to actually provide an acute lens on how to address that with people on a one-to-one basis.
Yeah, so there's a difference, there is a difference in coaching one-to-one to group. Of course, it's like it's the difference if you go and have a personal training session with a personal trainer in a gym, or you go to a group training class. It's that sort of difference. But as far as, I can't remember what you said, but tailor making and making, the uniqueness when one is coaching one-to-one, of course, it is completely and absolutely tailor-made to that person. Although, as I said, there will be certain things that that person is going to have to learn that any other client would have to learn. But every person is unique. They have their own history, their own backstory, as it's called. That's a recent term for me that I heard recently.
What was that?
Backstory.
Right. Okay. The backstory. Yeah.
So
it's all important, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're all got our own history. We've got our own unique set of symptoms, although the interesting thing is there will be common symptoms as well for people with certain syndromes and diagnoses. And so everything is obviously tailor-made in a one-to-one coaching program. But if it's a group coaching program, then there will be, most of it will be across the board, you know, what everybody needs to do, and it will all apply. But then during the sort of the live sessions where people are interacting, people are going to be learning from other people, because when we listen to somebody else's story, we can see our own stuff in it, or what relates, you know.
That's right.
And then there is a certain element, if people choose, of having some one-to-one, even, you know, as part of the group program.
That's right. So the underlying template for the solutions really is all the same for each and every one, but it is applied differently to each individual depending on where they're at, and, you know, and the process of that, in terms of their own physical illnesses.
Yeah, but the point is, you're going to get much more. You know, in a one-to-one coaching program, obviously it's going to be much more tailored to, you know, it's totally tailored to you. Whereas in a group coaching program, it's more generalized with some tailor-made, you know. So for example, we might use a particular person's symptoms and use that as an example to explore it. And then therefore it is directly about what is going on for you, but then everybody else in the class learns at the same time.
I'm very excited to know that you're actually out there in community, you know, doing this, because in my experience, when people have been dealing with different ailments, you know, they really haven't known that there are alternative solutions, that they don't just have to go to the doctor and then that is the be all and end all. I think people today are really wanting to look further afield, you know, and outside of the box of, you know, being able to address what they're doing. Now, can I ask him, how can people get in touch with you? Is it something that you're going to actually put at the bottom of this link, or do you want to speak into?
Yeah, I can mention it now, but just to respond to what you just said there, because it was an interesting point, is that I've been exploring this approach to healthcare for about 25 years now. And so, you know, for me, this is normal. It's the norm. And what I find really fascinating, because I tend to forget that there's a whole load of people who haven't come across this yet. And it is quite amazing, really. I don't know what the percentage is, but it is quite amazing that still out there in the public, so to speak, there are hundreds of thousands, millions, I don't know what, people who still only know about you know, conventional medicine. And that's not to say that isn't good, because there is a place for it,
right? Yes.
Especially in, you know, serious things which do need surgery or acute situations. But I forgot what I was going to say there. Yeah, one of the things that I have learned for myself is that we will find solutions, healthcare solutions, according to how open-minded we are to different options, and also according to our level of self-awareness and self-consciousness. And I don't mean self-conscious as in I'm self-conscious, but our level of consciousness. And this is a very fascinating thing, because the more open we become to looking outside the box, suddenly we're going to start seeing other things that were always there. They've been there for years and years and years. And it's a bit like, you know, you drive past a house 1,000 times down the same road, and then one day you decide that you want to buy a house, and then you notice that house because it's for sale.
That's
right?
Right.
This information is out there now, but we don't see it because we're blinkered. And I actually have a program called 5 levels of healthcare consciousness in you, which explains how, as your consciousness widens and opens, you want to use different healthcare approaches, and you move from a purely physical approach to more of a, you know, a mind approach, emotional approach, spiritual approach, energetic approach, it changes. It's like you move upwards on this graph.
Actually, I'm really glad that you've mentioned that, Kim, and that people are going to be obviously be able to access the understanding of that perhaps on your website, because you know, in my experience, and you know, having the open mind for this type of thing is really, really crucial, because I know on my own, you know, on my own journey and healing my lungs from emphysema, recently, and a while back with cancer of the ovaries as well, that it took an incredible amount of, you know, really open myself up to different potentials and not limiting myself in terms of what people were actually saying. And I think that that is a very, very
so can I ask you a question? What was it that did open you up to the, you know, those new potentials?
Yes, I actually, look, for me on my journey, I suppose I've always been a little bit out of the box anyway. And I suppose in the initial stages, it was around, which goes back to childhood, around trust, not really wanting to put my absolute trust in not only anybody, but a doctor who's now telling me something about me that can't be fixed. And it's almost like, for me, it's this, no, I can't accept that. I'm going to go off and research and find out a little bit more. And I think it was an innate thing in terms of my personality anyway. But I know a lot of people struggle in terms of this, that, you know, we are quite, you know, educated and you know, in terms of, you know, what we learn around, well, the doctors, you know, they go to the medical schools and that, and you know, you mentioned that, yes, it does have its place, but there's a lot more than that. And I think that is the bit that a lot of people really grapple with, especially when they're dealing with things like chronic fatigue or irritable bowel syndrome. You know, you've talked about that, or, you know, other illness, or any illness really, and especially if it's something that's, you know, hugely chronic. People jump into a fear, and it's almost like they give all the power over to the person that's making the decision.
There's a fear of, if I don't do what my doctor says, you know, there are going to be consequences, you know, for my health, and maybe other consequences too. And that comes down to some very, very deep, you know, cultural, collective consciousness conditioning, that the doctor is always right. And this is just so not the case. And this is not to disrespect doctors in any way. But the truth is that, you know, they're only partially addressing things, and there is a huge gap in their understanding of what creates illness.
There are doctors out there too that are happy to work in a collaborative way with you. I know that when I was diagnosed, I worked collaboratively with, you know, and I had a medical lens on what I was doing. However, I didn't accept what they were giving me, and I went off on my own and asked my doctor to record holistically actually what I was doing. So there are people in the medical profession out there that
there are integrative medical, you know, medical doctors, and there is change happening, but it's quite slow. It's a lot slower than I would have liked.
Yes. And I think this is also too, just to touch, and I know we're probably getting off track a little bit, or maybe, I mean, I don't know from your perspective, where science is now starting to meet the metaphysical, you know, in great ways, and there are phenomenal people out there, you know, proving this. But the blinkers are on, and I know through my own journey, you know, I still have people say, oh, you didn't have it anyway. You couldn't possibly have had it. How could you possibly heal? How could you possibly regenerate cells for your lungs? And just alluding back to what you were saying, it is around what we think, what we feel, addressing the emotional blockages that actually come up in our lives, which is you are the person to be able to extrapolate that out to people, because it's a very, very important part of the journey, I believe, or through my own experience.
No, it absolutely is. Getting to the root cause first and understanding the root cause is so important. And I spent years flailing around looking for that. And now I can help people do that in an hour and a half. And I make it look really, really simple. But actually, it took me many years to get to the point that I could do it, you know, make it look simple.
This is why I'm so excited to have you inside of this space, because you are about to provide to people, you know, like you say, within an hour and a half, a couple of hours, you know, on something that you have worked tirelessly at. And obviously too, in a world of no agreement, I would think a lot of the time, you know, and it would have been trial and error for you, trial and error, and you've actually arrived at this place.
So yeah, a lot of trial and error, a lot of professional training, but a lot of clinical experience where just observation, and then you start to see, you know, the recurring themes. And the answers come through the hundreds of sessions, thousands of sessions, you know, with clients.
Kim, did you want to talk a little bit about your training?
Sure. So what I've been doing over the last few years is creating a lot of self-help online programs, because what I love to do is to teach people how to do it for themselves. It's like, you know, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Give him, you know, teach him how to fish, he can do it for a lifetime. And this really is the case. Everyone that I work with, you know, one-on-one, that they're being guided, and some of the things need to be, you know, coached through because they can't do it themselves. But a lot of the stuff that I give people, it's like, these are techniques and strategies that you can do for yourself, and they'll bring a positive change to your health. And not just your health, but your whole life, because, you know, if your health isn't good, then your whole life is affected. And so I'm translating, you know, what I've been doing for 15 years one-on-one into a 10-week online coaching program, which is one of 7 levels within my Emotional Alchemy Academy. And I know it's called Emotional Alchemy Academy, and people think, well, it's only about emotions. No, it's not just about emotions. It's about stress, lifestyle, emotions, beliefs, mindset, spirituality. It's everything. But because emotions play such a huge role in, you know, in us being able to master ourselves and master our health, and it's a big missing piece for a lot of people, because they don't even know that what they're feeling. They don't know how to manage their feelings. I called, you know, my business that. But this 10-week program is basically teaching people how to understand what's causing the problem, and then giving people strategies and solutions and techniques to bring their body back to its natural state of health. And this is a really important point, is that our natural state, and I know that you know this, is to be healthy and to be happy. That is our natural state. If we're not experiencing that, then something has got in the way, or we're doing something unconsciously and we don't know that we're doing it. For example, say, you know, somebody has chronic fatigue and all sorts of symptoms that are associated with that, and they are in a dysfunctional, abusive relationship, which means, and they're not doing, you know, they're not able to cope with it. They're not standing up for themselves. They're not speaking their truth. They're not stopping the unfair behavior, and they're putting up with it. That means that their body is in a constant state of stress. It's constantly generating emotions such as fear, anger, hurt, frustration, but they're not doing anything with them. They're just holding them all in. And when we hold all our emotions in, they change the chemistry inside our body, literally. And that has been scientifically researched, for example, by Candace Pert, her book, Molecules of Emotion. And so, and also there are certain behaviors where we compromise our authentic self or our authenticity. We compromise ourselves, say, for example, we won't speak up, we'll shrink and shrivel, we'll hold everything inside, we'll try to people please. Whatever we do,
and of course it just manifests, doesn't it? It just manifests into the cellular structure of our being.
Yeah, and then they end up with symptoms. Yeah, right. So it's all about reversing the unhealthy, damaging behavior and replacing that with healthy, new behaviors, and learning how to de-stress, because that is absolutely paramount. If our body's in a constant state of stress, then it thinks it's under threat. You know, it's a real survival threat, and then the healing response cannot work as well in the body. It doesn't work at all, because the body is incredible, but it can't heal fully if we're stuck in the stress response. So
look, Kim, I'm so excited about what you're offering in that space, and so are you able to at this point tell our viewers where that is, like how they can find you?
Yeah, so all the information is on the website. Pages change generally, so if I just give the main website, is emotionalalchemyacademy.com.
Fantastic. absolutely fantastic. Look, Kim, it's all we have time for today, and I think we've actually touched on some very, very crucial information, and we are able to give, our people that are watching an absolute gem of access to you, that they can go ahead and get in touch with you and take it from there. And look, I just want to say, Kim, thank you very much. I know that you are an extraordinarily busy lady. You have a lot on, and much gratitude to you for coming into my space today, to share with our viewers, or my viewers, and I look forward to, hopefully this will be one of a few, because I know that what you do is just right across the board in a lot of ways, and perhaps we can do this again, and where you can actually continue to talk about, or however that is
different topic.
A different topic, so absolutely fantastic, Kim. I would like, and so to finish off, is there anything that you would like to say as a note?
I think the only thing that, is to really understand that our body has a miraculous ability to heal. And you know that, and I know that, but most people don't. They get stuck in fear. They get stuck in not trusting. They don't trust that their body can self-heal.
Trust in themselves, trust in the process.
So it's so important to understand the amazing things that our body can do.
Right, so this is actually in terms of information for them, to put them onto that pathway of discovery, because I know for my journey, I also had to find out how I was going to support myself, perhaps in terms of herbal nourishment for my body as well. So so what you're providing is the information on how that all works, and then there are other resources that people can actually lean to. Would I be right in saying that? Because I know for me there were a few key people in terms of me, going from terminal or progressive into wellness. And I think that the key thing, like you said, you are able, in what you do, you will be able to arm them with the confidence, I suppose, and figuring out where and how they need to move forward from where they are.
Well, two things there. Yes, often we need to see more than one person. I don't deal with diet and supplements or anything like that. I'm dealing with the mind, the consciousness, the emotions, the stress, the lifestyle habits. And I can't remember the other thing though.
Which actually is the absolute foundation into wellness, I just want to say, because it doesn't matter what you eat, what you put into your body, if we're not addressing what you're providing in terms of information, if we're not looking at that, then it doesn't matter what we're actually putting into our bodies, because nothing is going to change. And I think that is why I'm so excited about what you've actually provided to us today. So
and the other thing I just remembered in response to what you just asked was that it's not about helping them to see, it's more than that. It's giving them exactly what they need.
Exactly.
It's on a plate. It's handed on a plate, because it took me so long to find it out myself. And I really had to, I kept on having to come, when my symptoms were still there, I said, what else do I need to do? And this is a very important point. Instead of saying to yourself, why am I ill? You have to ask yourself, what is it I need to learn and change?
Absolutely beautiful. Okay, Kim, with that, I'm going to finish it there, because what a beautiful note to end it on for this time. Thank you.
Thank you.